I'm Kirti Sehrawat, and this is Sourcing from India podcast. I help business owners source amazing products from India without the guesswork and overwhelm so they can launch and grow their e-commerce business. Over the past 20 years, I've been into import and export business and have seen behind the scenes of product manufacturing as well as sourced hundreds of products. I've been on both sides of the business, whether it's clothing, accessories, or homewares. I've had hands-on experience with it all. I have discovered what it really takes to successfully source products, what works, and more importantly, what doesn't, and the costly mistakes that one could avoid. How to turn that great product idea into a tangible reality easily, effectively, and profitably, and what sourcing strategies will help you not only find the best suppliers in India, but also go through the sourcing process as smoothly as possible. This is what the podcast is all about. Whether you're just starting out or looking to diversify your sourcing to India, you are in the right spot. I'm here to help you create the business you've always wanted by sourcing amazing products from India. Let's get started. Hey productpreneurs, welcome to today's episode. Today we are talking about something that every product-based business owner needs to understand, which is quality control. And if you're sourcing products from India or any overseas country, and if you want those products to arrive exactly how you imagined, then quality control is what's going to make that possible. In this episode, I'm walking you through how to make sure your products meet your expectations, why inspections are so important, how they can actually save you a ton of time and money, and what to do if things don't go to plan. Whether you've had issues in the past or you're preparing for your first order, I promise this episode will be worth your time. Now, something I hear a lot from people is, oh, I sourced from India once and the quality was terrible. I will never source from there again. And honestly, I understand when something goes wrong, especially with a big order, it can feel frustrating and fixing it can turn out really expensive. But here's the thing, quality issues can happen no matter where you're sourcing from. It's not just about India. It can happen in China, in Turkey, or even in your own country. The real issue isn't usually the location. It's about whether expectations were clearly defined and whether the product was checked at the right time. A lot of people assume their supplier automatically knows what they mean by good quality, but quality is subjective. What's great for one brand might be unacceptable for another. That's why it's up to you as a buyer to set the standard. Your supplier can only meet your expectations if they fully understand what those expectations are. So let's get started by breaking it all down and begin by understanding what is quality really. Now, in simple terms, it just means the product meets the requirements you've set. That might be the right size, the right color, correct finish, proper labels, or the packaging. And quality control is the process that makes sure those requirements are met consistently. It's not something you do only at the end. It's a cycle that starts before the order is even placed and continues through production and after the goods arrive at your warehouse. And the earlier you catch an issue, the easier and cheaper it is to fix. Now, let me give you an example. Say you're ordering a batch of scented candles. You ask for and receive the sample and the scent is barely there. At that point, it's easy to tell the supplier to adjust the formula and strengthen the fragrance. But if you skip the sample stage or don't check your product correctly or just ignore that issue, you might end up receiving stock of 400 candles that have no scent at all. Your customers are disappointed, returns will go up, you'll lose money, not to mention how it will affect the reputation of your brand. Now, fixing anything at sampling stage or during production is far easier than fixing it after production is over or once the stock arrives at your warehouse. So in order to ensure quality of your products, the first thing you need to do is create a product specification sheet. This is where you write down and document everything the supplier needs to know, from materials, measurements, finishes, colors, Pantone numbers, packaging, labeling requirements, and so on. If you're dealing with clothing, you might use a tech pack instead. This isn't just for getting quotes. It's the foundation for your sample, your production, and your inspections. If anything changes along the way, you update it. That document should be the reference point throughout the entire process. You also need to define tolerances. No supplier, no matter how good, can make hundreds of products that are exactly the same. There will always be slight differences. So you need to define what's acceptable and what's not. If your cushion cover is supposed to be 45 by 45 centimeters, you might allow a tolerance of plus or minus 1 centimeter, for example. That means anything from 44 to 46 centimeters is okay. Anything outside that is not. This becomes a very clear benchmark for inspection. If you're not sure how to define quality requirements for your product, you can always ask inspection companies to help. They can even send you sample reports that show how other brands are defining their requirements. Now, next step is samples. Always order samples from at least 3 different suppliers. I know it takes a little bit extra time, effort, and even money, but it gives you options and a better understanding of who's reliable, who understands your requirements, and who delivers the best quality. When you get your samples, you go through them in detail, check the finish, the feel, the packaging, material, everything. And if something isn't right, ask the supplier to fix it. Once you're happy, you approve what's called a golden sample. This is your final approved sample that becomes the standard for production. You keep one, you send one to the supplier, and if you're using a third-party inspector, you send one to them too. And now it's time to place your purchase order. And your PO should include all specifications you've agreed upon, product details, packaging, delivery dates, payment terms, testing, inspection requirements, and even what happens if something goes wrong. Maybe the inspection fails, maybe there's a delay. Having all this documented in your PO will help prevent future disputes and a faster problem resolution. Once the supplier confirms it and sends back a pro forma invoice, you are ready to go. Now, one very important step here is to let the supplier know clearly and early that a third-party inspection will be done. This should be stated very clearly in your PO. That's because when a supplier knows that their work is going to be independently checked, they will pay more attention. It affects how they choose everything, how they plan their production, and how their internal team will handle quality. It's a small step that can have a big impact. Once production begins, you stay in touch with the supplier. It is very important when you are working with Indian suppliers. This is something a lot of people don't understand. The importance of regularly following up with the suppliers. Make sure you're checking in every 7 to 10 days, asking for photos and updates or even videos. Just by checking in, the supplier will remain focused on your order, will be on his toes, and it shows them that you are serious. If you can, you arrange a mid-production inspection with a third-party agency. That's when, around 10 to 50% of the order is complete. It's a great way to catch problems early when there's still time to fix them. And then there are primarily 3 main types of inspections. There's a pre-production inspection, also called as inline inspection, which happens before the production begins. The quality inspector will check the raw materials, components, and production readiness. It prevents problems before production begins. Then there's midline inspection that happens when 10 to 50% of production is completed. This inspection helps catch issues early and allows you to make adjustments before things go too far. And then there is the most common one called the final inspection, which is conducted when 100% production is completed and 80% of the goods are packed. Random samples are picked and checked to see if they meet your specifications against the golden sample. This is your chance to catch any issues before the products are actually shipped. Now, how do you ensure that the inspections are actually consistent and useful? You need to have an inspection process, which means you give the inspection agency a clear list of what you want them to check and how. You can call it a checklist or, a QC form that just walks them through the key things that they need to inspect. That might include checking dimensions, testing packaging strength, checking color accuracy or barcode placement or functional aspects of the product. When everyone follows the same instructions, you get consistent results, even if different people are doing the inspection. And if you might be wondering about the inspection cost, a third-party inspection usually costs around $200 to $300 depending on the product and location. Some of the well-known agencies are Kima, SGS, Intertech, Bureau Veritas, etc. Most of them operate in India and can send you sample reports as well to get started. Another key term to understand here is AQL, that stands for Acceptable Quality Limit. It's used during inspections to determine how many defective units are acceptable in a batch. If the defects are too many, the batch will be rejected. In short, AQL helps ensure that the quality of your product meets the standards you've set and prevents you from receiving a batch of low quality goods. And also, very quickly, let's understand the types of defects. A minor defect might be something cosmetic, maybe a tiny smudge or a couple of loose threads that doesn't really affect the saleability of the product. A major defect could be wrong color, wrong size, or missing feature. A critical defect, however, might be a safety issue, like something is broken or dangerous. Now, after final inspection is conducted, you'll get a report which is usually quite detailed within 24 hours, which will include photos, checklists, and results. But here's something you need to keep in mind. Don't panic if you see a fail on the report. Inspectors are often strict and they just flag issues and put a fail on the report just to be cautious. You need to review the report carefully and decide, is it a minor defect or a major one, or is it something critical? There are a lot of things that are brought up by the inspectors that could be minor and maybe, they won't affect the saleability of the product. You can approve a shipment with minor issues, give a waiver, but for serious problems, you'll want corrections before shipment. Talk to your supplier, figure out what caused the issue, and work out a corrective action plan. And this is where your balance payment can be used as a leverage for supplier to ensure all issues are fixed before shipping. And you must also ask supplier how can they prevent it from happening again. Keep a note of it so when you place your next repeat order, you can remind them. And once your goods arrive at your warehouse, do one last check. Sometimes issues just happen during shipping. If something is wrong, you might need replacements or deal with reverse logistics, and that gets very expensive. So going back to where we started, it's very, very important to catch the issues early rather than, fixing them when the goods arrive at your warehouse, as it gets very expensive at that point. So to wrap things up, quality control is an ongoing process. Start with clear specs, do thorough sampling, stay involved during production, get professional inspections done, and do the last check when you receive your goods. It will save you a lot of time, money, and stress in the long run. I hope this episode has helped you feel more confident about quality control when sourcing from India or anywhere else. If you have questions or need support sourcing your products from India, feel free to reach out. Thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you in the next one.